It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I think after 10 years, I think the last time I was in Antwerp, and the beer is fantastic here, with all the Belgian beer. But you've been very welcoming, and we feel, thank you very much. Oh, it is a debate. And thank you very much for the warm welcome, and we look forward to answering your questions sensibly.
This time?
Yes, thank you.
I'll start with a few questions, and then the audience will take the floor.
Fine.
You've been attached to Star Wars for so many years. Is that always been a blessing, or was sometimes a curse?
Well, I think for Alan and I, it's not a blessing, but for us, we're masked all the time, so you don't know who we are.
Yeah.
I could take the helmet off and say, rush around, and I said, hello, I'm Boba Fett. Oh, they say, oh, don't be so silly, you're not Boba Fett. All right, well, I have warned you. I had the hat on, the helmet on. But it's been a blessing, I think, because we get a chance to meet so many different people.
Yeah, it's the same for me, really. It's the same for me. We've been associated with it for, I don't know how many years now. Is it 30, 35? 35, isn't it? 35, I think. I was lucky, I did 4 Star Wars films, and I think Jeremy's now done 3, haven't you? 3. But since Jeremy got me onto this, I didn't know anything about this up until 2000. Jeremy got me on one of these shows, and I've loved it all the time. I go around the world, around Europe, it's great. We like meeting people. That's for me, one of the secrets of enjoying the work for us and then for you is that we like people. We like informing you. You ask us questions at the table and so on, and we inform you. It's all good. And also, we meet so many nice people. I worked on 3 horror films, and you get some funny people on those. Hellraiser, Hellbound, and Nightbreed. You get some very, very funny fans at the shows when you do those shows. Yeah.
You have been working on Boba Fett and Bossk on 2 different films, episode 5 and 6, with 2 different directors at 2 different times because the success grew and all. How was the atmosphere on the 2 different sets? Was it different because there was another director, or was it still the same feeling?
I think with the first 3 films, or the old films that we did, there's a certain atmosphere which never left, whether you have a second director or not. It never leaves. That's why the Star Wars films have worked so well. There's just a subtlety that goes on there, and it never goes away.
And also, we were very lucky that George chose Erwin Kershner we called him Kersh, to do Empire, because he spent a year in preparing it all, redoing the script and so on, and I made so many changes. And he's such an on director. He really is in control of everything. When it came to Jedi, I can't remember his name now. John, was it? He died, didn't he, a few years ago? Yeah. Heart attack. It was different. It was a more vague, more distant attachment, and I missed the directness of Erwin Kershner. George on Star Wars, I did a bit on Star Wars. I escorted Carrie Fisher under an X-Wing fighter. I couldn't believe he was a director. He looked like a kid out of university, which I suppose in a way he was, but he looked too young to be a director of such a big film. And also I thought the film was going to be for children. And space was dead at that time. You couldn't make money on space films. Previous to that, I'd spent a year on a TV series called Space 1999. I was on it from day 1 to the last day of the shooting, and it barely made a showing on television. Really difficult to get numbers, people watching it.
Do you see the moment when it strikes you that Star Wars would be such a huge success and your character would be such a legendary character?
No, I think it's great being masked characters because you can do something else, and in fact you don't have to work too hard. If I was to stand still and look at someone there for 10 minutes, they'd start to thinking, why is he looking at me? Boba Fett doesn't move much, and that's the best thing, is to stay absolutely still. It was the most extraordinary job. I was in the theatre in the evening in a play, and being Boba Fett for the whole day before rushing off back to the theatre. So it was busy, but enormous fun. Star Wars has been terrific.
At the time, we didn't have the backstory that we know now because of the comics and other things. Do you remember how George or Evan described you the characters?
Yes, I mean, I remember was the first assistant would say, Jeremy, remember you're a bounty hunter, and he'd get this from George, you're a bounty hunter.
David Tomlin.
Just be there, David Tomlin, who sadly passed away, but he said, just stand still. That'll do. You know, the direction was very...
do that?
No, but the direction was very straightforward, and you thought, okay, he wants me to move to the right, to the left, that'll do. And then a certain time would come along, I'm sorry, I have to be at the theatre. And I'd go and do a funny play for 2.5 hours, come back and be a silent Boba Fett for a day. Enormous fun, but I think we were terribly lucky.
Alan, you were used as a model for the first shoot of Boba Fett.
Yeah, it was built up around me, yeah. Yes, it was various fittings. I was called to Elstree, and I didn't know it. They gave it a name and didn't stick in my memory, but it was Boba Fett. It was all in white at first, and each fitting there would be a new piece, like the arm pieces would be done and the leg pieces. And the final one was the helmet was done and the backpack with the rocket had been done. And I had, on the third fitting, they told me to turn my left hand down and then press a button on my wrist. That didn't mean anything to me at the time. It did a week later because they did some adjustments behind my back because there was heavy cylinders in there. And they told me to put my hand down and press the button, and the flame came out of my wrist. It was 4 foot long, and then it came down to 2. They adjusted it down to 2 foot, and then out to 6 foot. Frightened the life out of me. If that thing had backfired, it would have blown me to pieces. But there's nothing I could do. It was all strapped up. You know what the costume's like, Jeremy. So yeah, it's a bit frightening, that one.
Did you tell that story to Jeremy before?
Oh, he's heard it so many times. He's heard it so many times. He takes the mickey out of me because one of the things that I do is explaining photographs is the carbonate body. Harrison was doing more important things than doing that. So Owen Kirsch told me to lay down on the floor. They put drinking straws up my nose so I could breathe, and then put plaster on me from head to toe, all the way down. He put my fingers in the positions that he wanted me in. He said, hold those positions. So I did, plaster going everywhere. And when it was finished, they cut my face out and put Harrison's face in. Now when I do that, as demonstrated, I see Jeremy's always having a laugh about me.
Someone's trying to get in. You're next. Put Captain Cargo in the solo hold. Those were the lines I said, by mistake. I actually turned around and said, put Captain Solo in the cargo hold. Well, on the day I said, put Captain Cargo in the solo.
Really?
I suddenly realised I couldn't have said that. I had 5 lines and completely mucked that up. So I'm surprised they used me. Thank you.
Last year you had the chance to play the scene where Mace Windu killed your father, Jango Fett, on stage with Warwick Davis. What was it like? Very moving scene.
Well, it was amazing because there were several Boba Fetts. Boba Fett that flies and does all the stunt work. There's Daddy Fett, Baby Fett, good-looking Fett.
Which one was it?
All sorts, you know. So I'm still surprised that, you know, the people haven't sussed me out. There were so many different Boba Fetts, but luckily I was the original, and they still haven't got rid of me.
You both work in the iconic British series, Space 1999 with Doctor Who. You both played in James Bond, and you both play in Star Wars. Is it mandatory to play that kind of part, to be a British actor?
No, you've got to be very lucky.
It's the whole thing about being an actor, and I've taught students of drama over the last 20 years. Different things. I said, look, everybody can act, but not everybody can get it across. You can come and say, hi, my name's John. And if it doesn't work, you can't go screeching into a corner going, they've never used me, they should have used me. You've got to accept it, get on with it, and see what you do next time. So it's a great profession when you're working.
Yeah. Can I just make one thing clear? I was never an actor on film. I was an extra and stand-in. I was an actor and a stage manager, really, in theatre, and so I played small parts, which you have to with companies, because they can't afford to pay too many small part actors. But I was never an actor on film, never. Just an extra and stand-in. But I was the luckiest one, because what we've been doing for 14 years, it's lovely.
As you said, Jeremy, you said you came in Belgium a few times. One of the last time was with the Caravan of the Force. Can you tell us a bit more about that and what it means for you?
Yes, the Caravan of the Force, when we were going towards Essen, we drove in a sort of big, huge Hitachi, big car, whatever it was. We were driving down from London all the way down to Essen, and we had to arrive at 5 in the afternoon, and that 5:01 is the guys, the 5:01st thing, and I think it's amazing. We actually arrived dead on time.
Really? Brilliant.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was part of, let's do something different. And they asked me, would you dress up in the costume when you get here, which I did. And there's Warwick was on stage and interviewing. It was just, we're all like children. We're sort of having a giggle and a laugh. I think everybody here is doing exactly the same. And we should laugh a bit more. Laugh at our faults when you trip over in the Boba Fett suit. That's embarrassing, but get up, do it again. It's funny.
If you could go back in time, what would you change from your costume of Bossk and Boba Fett?
I'd wear a pair of shorts. Just the same.
I would remove in the Bossk costume what you see as the main body, over the main body, is an English or British high altitude inner space real suit. I've seen the original, same as that one, at the National Space Centre at Leicester. The curator brought it down, and with the inner suit inside, because water was pumped into the legs, into the inner suit, because it gets very cold up there, minus 150 or something, and then out the other side. So that was a real thing. The arms, the head, and the feet were made up, of course, for me. But the one thing I would change is there's an aluminium ring that goes around the costume, which you can't see. It's covered by a flexible hose, which costs about £2 sort of thing. But that dug into my collarbone, just to fit the helmet on, click, click, that sort of thing. That's where it goes, there's holes all the way around. And that was so painful on my bones here, these collarbone things here. I would change that.
I know, Jeremy, you have your own Boba Fett suit. Do you have your own?
No.
No?
No. I've seen very good ones. There's quite a good one here. There's quite a good one here today. I've seen another in Germany on what we call the Old East Germany. That's a very good suit. There's one in Poland. I haven't seen that, but there's a girl made one in Britain, and that's very good too. Very good one. But the one that Boba Fett down there today is a cracking suit, isn't it?
So is the female Boba Fett. Have you seen her? Wow. That's why I have to get back. that is a fantastic costume. And it's subtle. It's a slinky girl. So Boba Fett has his girlfriends, I'm sure.
Do you consider yourself a collector of Boba Fett?
Yeah, I am a collector, but sort of unusual. It's all Boba Fett, but unusual stuff. Occasionally I'll go up to them and say, can we do a deal on this? Oh, thank you. That's like saying lots. Even there's a chocolate Boba Fett, but it's beginning to melt now. But it's fun. I'm doing it just for the grandchildren, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think I'm terribly lucky. As Alan says, you're very lucky. As I said, everybody here could perform as an actor, playing a different part by looking in the mirror, doing bits and pieces. And I do this occasionally. Take people. I say, right, 4 of you up on stage, right? Just walk down there. And it's amazing the amount of people who walk awkwardly because they've been told to walk there. You have to, okay, relaxed, and gradually after 2 days, you'll be ready to play in any film, theatre, anything. Just put a lot of hard work in.
Do your grandchildren play with the action figure?
Well, I have 10 grandchildren, and the eldest is 21, so she's not playing. But the amazing thing is, it's Harry Potter. But the 7, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, they like Harry Potter, not Star Wars. I said, look, I'm on television, Granddad's on television. Oh no, not that, Granddad. No, I don't think so. I can't win.
Boba Fett is a man of many gadgets, and you play Smithers in James Bond. Which gadget do you think Boba Fett would steal from James Bond?
Well, I don't know, something would happen. I think the first gadget, actually there's things in the trouser pocket, the spanners. Smithers would use that, and Boba Fett, so I think that's the best toy, no, not toy, thing.
The Aston Martin.
Well, anyone's got, I've got several of those, piping around. But that would be nice, yes.
Some of the actors from the previous time were asked to play in Star Wars 7. How about you? Did you get approached?
I'm not saying anything. No, none of us have heard at all. And I think it's funny that they're getting this all sort of hyped up, maybe a little bit. And I'm sure the secrecy of it is clever. They probably shot several scenes or several days, weeks, who knows. But for me, I think we're all looking forward to this, the new films, but it's got to be right. I don't think they can afford for it to be ordinary. It's got to be absolutely sparking, and then you have a new audience. So I'm confident that it's going to be fun.
You came back in the other trilogy. How was it different from the set? Is it the family was back again, or was it completely different?
No, I thought it was the same atmosphere, and I played a small part, Captain Colton. It was great fun to have my hair back and this funny blue suit. But George said, "Hi, Jeremy, how are you?" It was fine, George. We did what I had to do, and I went home. And it was just, there's a nice atmosphere. A lot of the British crew there, and that was good.
How about you?
On Phantom, wasn't it? Was,
No.
And I was standing and double for Terence Stamp on that one, Valorum. And so it was George directing, and it was quite easy. You know, it was good atmosphere. I got on okay with Terence Stamp. And I just did a couple of scenes, because he goes up a mountain, you know that. He goes up mountains and things like that, and anyway, he'd gone off somewhere, and so they stuck me in his costume and did some stuff for him. But yeah, it was all very easy, and it worked fine. Yeah.
Warwick Davis said that the best way to get a part in Star Wars is to stand around not in the trailers, but on the set. Is it true?
Yeah, I think he's absolutely right. Absolutely right.
All right. Never heard that. Never heard that.
Maybe we can go to the questions in the audience.
What would your hopes be for the new three Star Wars movies? What would you like to see, or what would you hope for?
I would like to see a very similar film as the original three. New characters come in, you're beginning to take them in, and they start to blend into the story. That, if it could work like that, even if it's a slow start, just then suddenly that electric, yes, here we are, we've got a Star Wars film again, wow, And imagine people going to see it and going, "Did you see the new one? It's Boba Fett for 2.5 hours."
In your dreams.
Well, you can dream, you can dream. So that's me.
I don't have any feelings on that issue at all. It's all too complicated for me. Screenplays and all that. But how they get a picture together is beyond me. It's just, it's like an army. It's masses of people. You look at the credits, generally at the end of the film, most people have got up and gone out. If you just stayed there with the music going, it goes on for about 5 minutes. Then you realise how many people are on a picture. It's an army. Somebody over here, put your hand up. Yeah.
Boba Fett is one of the most iconic characters in the Star Wars movies, and it's rumoured to have a spin-off film with Disney. Have you heard of it, or what?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people have heard that Boba Fett at some stage will have his own film. It will be about him. Whether that comes in the second film they do or third, I don't know. But it would be nice, you know, if I was young enough, they said, would you be in this film, this Boba Fett film? Yes, of course, George. Of course I will. Well, of course, George won't be heavily involved, but he'll be there as a thing. But having his own film would be nice. Hi guys.
Sorry,
I like the beards.
like them. No beards.
Not beard.
Like one.
Sorry.
When you received the suit from the dented helmet, how did you feel, or what did you do with it?
Yeah, that was a few years ago. Out of the blue in Dallas, I was asked to go in and see these people who made me a Boba Fett suit. I mean, it was just tailored. And I've worn it 2 or 3 times for charity, and that's quite fun because you're going around with a box raising money. And we were at this Leicester Space Centre, and I went up to someone who kept pushing me back because I was walking through as Boba Fett. I could just about see them. And I walked up and I said, "Get out of my way." And he was, "Oh, son, why did you?" I said, "Get out of my way. Thank you." They took the helmet off. But he didn't take to it too lightly. He thought it was rather stupid. Maybe it was. Who cares?
How did you experience the evolution between the uses of props between the early Star Wars movies and the later on?
Where you just use whatever's there, whatever comes up, whatever gun or whatever you've got to use, anything technical, you just get as much practice with it as possible, you know, get the hang of the thing, because otherwise you're likely to drop it or point in the wrong direction or get it involved in your costume, and you don't want to damage the costume. That's the last thing you want to do. You never get back.
Now, the thing is, with the gun that I had was so heavy. I remember someone coming up to me and saying, "Hey, I like the way you hold that gun, it's fantastic." Well, what it was, I used to hold it like this. And the only reason I did was it was so heavy, I was supporting it. I wasn't being cool Boba Fett. I couldn't further down, but, well, here we are.
Yeah.
The dark side. And could I ask you one question?
Yeah,
As
sure.
you've been very kind to introducing me. Could you take the microphone?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I want you to say, "Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold."
Put
Put
Solo.
carrots. No.
Put Solo in the cargo bay.
That was totally wrong. That.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, you've paid your money and he's got one line wrong. Could I get one from you as well?
Oh, I'll have a batch.
I'm not a matter.
No, well, I can see that, yes. Sorry, off you go.
You want me to give him a line?
No, and let's just say, "Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold."
Oh. Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold.
Sounds like Frank Sinatra, that.
My way.
Let's pretend it isn't. So, sorry.
What's the question that most people ask you in convention? Not today, but usually.
Is the costume uncomfortable?
Yes.
Really?
And you go,
Yes.
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 It is.
It's hot, it's uncomfortable. Years ago we did a film called Flash Gordon, and it was a great film for us, but for people like myself as extras, because you could put a head on and you could do 6, 8 characters in the film. It was brilliant. It's what we've got a term in the game called turkey on the table. In other words, you put money in the cupboard so you can always have a turkey on the table for Christmas. And was so many on that one. The worst costume was a rocket man, because it was a material where the heat from the lamps went in the costume but couldn't get out. And the rocket man costume was the worst costume I've ever been on. I just sweated. It was a Saturday, non-stop. God.
We're trying to make it simple and enjoyable to wear these suits, but Anna's absolutely right. It's just unbearable. But you won't go when the carbon freezing chamber came in, and Han Solo goes down with and there was hot steam burning the backs of your legs. But I thought, I'm not going to be the first one to say, George, could we have a sort of break? It's awfully burnt down here. I just stood there, as again, sweating, and really it was hurting your legs, but just stood in the same stance. I said, I'm not going to be the first to ask, and then suddenly someone said, I'm sorry, I can't breathe, it's too hot, we've got to do it again. I said, isn't that amazing? All of us were in the same position, but pretended that they weren't burning to pieces.
What's your most memorable moment in the convention? Because you are both doing a lot in the years.
What did you say the most?
The most memorable
here?
No, in any conventions.
I think for me, going to Japan and going to 10 different places, cities in Japan by that lovely tilting train, and the people so polite. It was pouring with rain, but they stood there for an hour and a half. And it was, we ended up, my wife and I, 14 days in Japan. That was memorable.
Sorry. For me, it was the very first time I did one of these conventions. I don't think were you there at Cheshunt the first time?
Yes, I was.
You was. But for me, I didn't know what I was doing and how to answer anything. I was an idiot. When it came to the signing, I had a queue from here to the back of the hall, and it didn't stop for 2 hours. Now the reason was that they didn't know if I would ever do another show. So there were people come from Holland, Germany, Belgium, from all over Britain, and I had this queue for 2 hours. I couldn't believe it. And there's Gary, I think Gary was there, yeah. Gary Kurtz, and he didn't have anybody in front of him. And I was embarrassed a lot of the time.
Well,
I couldn't believe it.
It's difficult really, because a lot of the sort of good guys, people don't want to see them. They want to see the shape of Bossk's face and these strange creatures, Boba Fett, Chewbacca, of course. And then the girls want to see the hero, Han Solo. And I can see why. But it's amazing how people do pick on the villains. Those are the ones that...
Are you still amazed of the success of your characters?
I think it's incredible. You know, usually someone will say, what a fabulous film. I love the Bossk and Boba Fett. They're really great. And you think it would die down a bit. They'd move on to the next film. There's something interesting there. But it's still just growing.
Doesn't last. Yeah.
Any more questions? Yes, 2 questions. What? Go ahead.
If you could go back into time, would you choose Jedi side or the dark side?
Well, it'd have to be the dark side, because you're always trying to get more money out of the film company. So it would be a dark time.
About Bossk, would you like to have a personal suit as well, just like Jeremy got his Boba Fett suit, but just like maybe less heavy if it was heavy?
No. The replicas are superb, believe me. But the original, because it was high altitude in a space, a real thing, that can't really be replicated. And quite frankly, I'm 75 years old. I'm too old to try and get in a costume like that ever again. Now, honestly.
How do you feel about Disney producing the new movies? Because we already have Jar Jar Binks, so what's next? The Goofy in a Star Wars movie?
That's interesting. I think if they had Jar Jar Binks in the next film, I think it'd do well. It'd change his attitude a bit. But my grandson loves Jar Jar Binks. There's one on our shelf at home. I try and sneak it away to say, you can't have that on the mantelpiece. But no, he loves Jar Jar.
How
So
much?
it's a thing of attracting younger people, I think, in the movie series?
Sorry.
So figures like Jar Jar Binks, do you think it's to attract younger audience?
I think it
Oh,
does. The young grandson I have, he loves it. There's something different about it. And sort of plays games and things. No, he loves it. I think it's fit for the age. There are lots of different kids who like that part. They like the slightly grown up part, and then they go back to the little tiny Boba Fett.
How was it flying with the Slave One?
Oh, easy. You just get in, press the button, and gone. So it's actually, we managed to get here earlier than I thought. We parked Slave One just outside, and we'll probably go back tomorrow morning. If you believe that, so.
No, one last question.
If there's one scene you could possibly change in the old spring movies, the first three, which one would it be?
I think in Empire Strikes Back when the bounty hunters, the first minute, that was very exciting. I'm not a nervous person, but on that first day when there were all the bounty hunters standing there, and I thought, what if I fall over? And it was going in my mind, what if I trip? And I thought, no, I won't trip, I'm standing still. That'll be perfect. What if, no, and I kept thinking too much, and then I got back and said, no, just stand there, look cool. It's a good outfit, just be cool.
Well, I think it's time for us. Thank you very much for coming.
Pleasure.
And